Hello there, everybody out there in the internet. It is week 2 of our magical self-care challenge or practice, whatever you want to call it. And if you are just joining us, if you're new, you are not behind. You can do this at any point in time. You can jump in, you can go fast through it, you can go slow backwards, whatever you want to do, it's up to you. But welcome into all of you who are here and are consciously deciding to bring some self-care into your life so that you can bring more magic, abundance, joy, health, happiness, all of those things into your everyday. I'm Sarah, founder of the Sisters Enchanted. We have been bringing classes just like this one online since 2016, and we are very excited to bring this class to you now. I looked this morning, over 7,000 people are registered for this live self-care challenge. That tells me that this is still a topic that we need to talk about because I think that in this world that we live in, it's very easy to live a life that does not feel like there's self-care built into it. And we want to change that for everybody because we know how powerful self-care is. We know that magic comes from within. And if you aren't feeling cared for, it can be hard to tap into that power, that internal power, and that magic. All right, in the comments today, if you're here live, we have probably all of Team TSE here. I can't always see everybody's names, but I'll give you a quick introduction. Anna Tower is my real life sister, co-founder of the Sisters Enchanted. She's an astrologer, mythology buff, intuitive tarot reader, all of the things. We have Sarah Milne. She's our program director. She's a psychologist. She's an author. She's an astrologer. She's teaches all her programs with us here. Christina Boos is our student success support sorceress. She's got lots of titles, Christina. And she is a healer. She's an intuitive astrologer. And she's the person who helps you out when you email in or you're stuck in tech land with one of our programs here. We've got Danielle, who is our creative product AV person. We've got Brandy, who is she's my right-hand person helping us just bring everything to life right now and keeping us organized. And I see lots of longtime students here today too. Kelly Sroka. Hello, Kelly. Those of you who we have a new membership option in our membership community, and Kelly is one of the readers, one of the tarot readers in there. So Kelly, it's awesome to include you in that. And hello, Risa and Natasha and so many familiar faces. All right, everyone, let's get on with this piece of our self-care. So last week, days 1 through 7, we talked, or you read and did the work. Hundreds of people have shared over the last week in our Facebook group, which has been it's like just this big collective exhale. And we're so honored that we get to support you in the different things that you're sharing. And we love reading it. But we saw from so many people just about the changes that either you want to make or you think you should make. So the thing that I want to always bring back to you, the question I always want to present to you is, why do you think you need something? I talked about this last week, so I'm not going to talk about it too much today because you can always watch the replay. But when I see like people sharing, I need a better schedule, I need better meal planning, all of that might be true, but I want you to always ask yourself, why is it that that's the thing you think that you need? Why? Like, where is that coming from? And the reason I want you to ask yourself that is because we so often hold ourselves to a standard that just might not be the right standard for us. And looking at your natural strengths, your natural passions, and leaning into those as opposed to spending lots of time trying to fix a weakness, a perceived weakness, or like fill a hole in yourself, it's so much more empowering. And whatever it is that you want to create in your life, whatever you want to manifest, whatever intentions you want to set with the moon or set a crystal grid and bring something into being, whatever that is, leaning into your strengths is going to get you there a lot faster. I'm very passionate about this. It's something just this morning at Team TSE, we have lots of end of the quarter meetings happening. And I'm like, this is people's strengths. Everyone should do their strengths. Let's not focus so much on the weaknesses. I think that your when you look at your strengths, what you're strong in, if you get to like the top 5 of those, that fifth one, if that's the top of your weaknesses, say, you work on strengthening that. So if making a schedule for you is a weakness, well, what can you do to get around that? How can you get support in that? What does that look like? If you're a person who for the last 10 years has not meal prepped, meal planned, despite buying all the books, all the Ziploc bags, all the things, what can you do instead of just like focusing on this is a weakness? So I always want to bring that back to everybody and ask yourself, why is it that I think that this is the thing that I need to do? Where is this coming from? And this brings us into a little bit of shadow work, which brings us into this week for our self-care challenge. So shadow work is a term that I used last week. It's been around in our comments frequently. I'm going to take a minute right now and just tell you what shadow work is from our perspective here at the Sisters Enchanted. Now, a little bit of like social sciences for you. Shadow work, as we talk about it here, comes from two perspectives, Carl Jung and Ivan Illich. Now, I'm sure Anna can put these in the comments, or one of our teammates. Carl Jung, famous psychologist, did a lot of archetype work that influences esoteric arts today, tarot, different healing modalities. Our own program director, Sarah, wrote a book on Carl Jung we're still waiting for it to get published. Her publisher has it. So hopefully sometime this year. But Carl Jung, the psychologist, and Ivan Illich in the 1980s, a social scientist, philosopher, a few things. They both talked about this idea of the shadow. Carl Jung says that our shadow is the repressed or denied part of ourselves. So it's the things about ourselves that we don't really want to look at. We don't really want to talk about. Ivan Illich in the 80s, he actually used the term shadow work, but used it as the jobs that we do that take away our time. So it's essentially the jobs that we do that are not our paid work necessarily. So this could look like grocery shopping, doing the laundry. It could be commitments to organizations. It's like vacation planning. I'm a homeschool mom, so doing that planning. These are jobs that we give ourselves that do not put money in the bank, right? So when we put those two ideas together, the repressed and denied parts of ourselves, the things we don't want to see about ourselves, this could be like me, for example, a few years ago, 10 years ago, if you had asked me, if you had said, Sarah, you're kind of a hothead, you always have to be right, and you're impatient, I would have been like, no, I'm not, you are, because that's a denied part of self. Now I would say, I can see that about myself. That's that. And then these jobs, we put these together. And it's really, we have this shadow, and what are we doing with our time that takes away time for joy, takes away time for self-care. And it's what we're filling our time with. So this could be all that meal prepping, all that scheduling, all that stuff. That's not to say we can't not to do that. I mean, we need to clean our houses for like hygiene purposes. We need to eat, right? We need to do these things. But it's really looking at the balance of what we are doing, what we're filling our life with, versus who we could delegate that to. Who else could do that job? So when we look at shadow work, it's those two things coming together. What is it about ourselves that we need to see? And what are we filling our life with that's actually taking up time that we could use toward joy, toward creating a life that feels delightful, with expansion, room for wonder and exploration and creativity. And that's where shadow work comes in. It's understanding these things about yourself and how we're actually putting ourselves in these positions to not live what we want to live. And that is where we're doing shadow work. So much of what you're doing over this experience here really is shadow work. The questions I presented you with last week through the printable guide are shadow work type questions. And when you go through them, all of this stuff that comes up that's like, I don't have support, I need to do more of this, if only I had more of this. Start to look at this as jobs. Who else can do that job? Where have we taken on responsibility and said, oh, well, only I can do it. If I don't do it, it doesn't get done. I think we can all raise our hands to that. Every single one of us can say, if I don't do it, it doesn't get done. But where are we really owning that instead of empowering somebody else to freaking learn how to do it and make it get done, right? And that's shadow work, starting to understand this about ourselves. Pam says, priorities of what gives us joy. Exactly. And the more that we can really understand about ourselves, these shadow elements, and then how we overwork, have big expectations of ourselves to compensate for this shadow stuff, the faster we can make changes and create these lives that feel really amazing. I can say from firsthand, even a few years ago, and I've been teaching this stuff now for 6 years, studying it I've been reading tarot for 21 years now. So I've been in this for the long game here. And I can say that it's such a practice, right? It's such a practice that even a few years ago, I was doing the majority of our household work, majority of the parenting, running this business, running another business, doing all of these things while other people had idle hands. And I see Samantha saying, if I don't do it, it doesn't get done right. And I can say that too. If I don't do it, this isn't done right. This isn't done right. The kids aren't getting enough of this. This thing's not done at work, whatever. The fact of the matter is, the more I did it, the more nobody else could do it right. So maybe when we empower people to do things like make the dinner, do the laundry, ask somebody at work to actually do their job, right? That you've just taken on because you seem to be better at it. We're empowering people to maybe fail at first. Maybe for a month, dinner really sucks. Maybe for a month, the dinner's not there. Maybe for a month, you're like really biting your tongue about it. But give it enough time and that person will be empowered to do it. And we have to look back at our own shadow selves and realize, like, what is the expectation here and what is it doing to me? Me having such a big high expectation on myself was only killing myself and nobody else. And then that resentment of being mad at everybody else because they couldn't live up to my expectation was hurting my relationships. So starting to realize that person is who they are. I am who I am, releasing the expectation, and then moving forward from there. It's life-changing. I promise. Okay. So let's see here. Natasha says, hubby said that to me. He said, stop thinking I have to do it all just because I feel I do it all. So I gave chores to my kids. Yeah. And you know what? It might not be the way that you want it done. You might think it's not good enough. You might think it's not perfect, but really, it's about releasing you of having to bear that burden of everything. And then understanding what part of you is the part that feels like it has to be perfect, because you look at the mess and think it's a reflection on you if the house isn't clean enough, or if the dinner's not right, or the job's not done well enough. But really, where is that coming from, that your worth is embedded in what other people might perceive of you, right? Where is your worth embedded in that? In my life, if you came into my house today, my house is very well lived in. I say there's always stuff places. It's very lived in. And I, though, don't think that, I look at that and I think that says that I'm a creative person. It says that I have a very full, very busy life. Like, I'm on the move. I've got a lot going on. My husband looks at that and thinks that it says about him that he's a slob. So he thinks somebody coming into our house, his worth is based on, like, how clean do they think I am? Where my worth is not, I don't put my worth in that at all. My worth is in other things, like how hard people think I work, how much I can do. So that's a shadow in and of itself. But starting to pull that out is what's going to make room for that self-care. Clean the toothpaste out of the sink, right? Yeah. I mean, we all have these things. We all have them, and really learning to come together. So that's where this week actually comes in and can be helpful for all of these things. I am right there with all of you, stuff that I look at and I'm like, how does nobody else see this? But then I do things too that my husband says that about with me. Okay, this week, you are going to look at different kinds of self-care. So today you're going to do sort of a self-care audit and look at areas in your life where you might be able to just add in self-care to things that are already there. After today, you're going to be introduced to different kinds of self-care. Practical self-care, which is really taking care of things like money, delegating, making the uncomfortable phone call that you've been ignoring, right? And not doing, but that you really need to do to get that stress out of your mind. That's self-care. Spiritual self-care you're going to look at. And that's, it can be things like this. It can be meditating, working with your tarot cards, going for walks, journaling. Physical self-care, so moving that body or getting the haircut, making sure you have clothes that fit you. This has been huge for me. The last few years, I've had some estrogen dominance going on, some different health issues, and just putting pounds on left and right, which is actually fine. I feel fine in my body. That said, it did not feel fine wearing clothes that were a full size too small for me. And that felt really uncomfortable. So physical self-care, getting the clothes that actually fit me so I can feel even better in my body. Relational self-care. All of those of you who are like, nobody sees the toothpaste, nobody picks up the shoes. Relational self-care is where that's going to come in. Hearing other people in your life, being heard by the people in your life, strengthening those relationships so you're really acting as a team with the people in your life rather than as a bunch of people swimming in different directions all the time or rowing the boat in different directions, right? Everybody needs to be moving together. And then you'll round out the week with putting it into practice. Round it out with putting it into practice. So these different kinds of self-care that you're going to explore this week, they're meant to help you to see your whole life as an opportunity for self-care. Learning how to manage your money is self-care. That alleviates stress. It helps you to make more money, receive more money, turn the money you have into more money by understanding how money works in investments and saving versus investing, all of those things. That is certainly self-care. I see that Samantha's sharing, love my postpartum body, but don't like my clothes. Yeah, Anna's got how old's Riker? He's not quite 18 months yet. So he's between 12, I forget, my own nephew. I think he's like 16 months old, somewhere in there. I got 2 kids. Anna's got 2. Eventually you just lose track of those months. Anyway, we can relate to that for sure. So getting the clothes that fit you rather than sitting there and saying, I have to lose 20 pounds. What if you just buy clothes that fit you? What if you just do that? And that can be that physical self-care. Maybe you do want to move your body more. I am currently having some pretty heavy back issues. I actually was in the emergency room just a few days ago because the pain was so unbearable. And this is coming from a person who I tried for natural birth for over 24 hours for a home birth with no medication. And my back pain was like, I was not having it. So sometimes you need physical self-care. Like right now, I obviously need to do some physical self-care with my body. I'm going to have to do some weight training, physical therapy, get in there and work on that. But that's not about losing weight. It's about feeling healthy. That's that physical self-care. Relational self-care. For those of you who say no one listens to me in my home, it's so chaotic that either maybe you're taking care of aging parents who have dementia and are becoming, really challenging to be around. Maybe you're taking care of kids who don't clean up after themselves. You feel like they don't listen. This relational self-care piece is so imperative in getting the support you need to feel like your life cares for you and not like you're the one caring for everybody else. And taking the time to do that relational self-care and set something up that helps you out, it's going to make all the difference for you. Let me see some of these here. I've got menopause, body, and clothes don't fit me, right? Yes, someone's saying Pure Barre is on my list. That Pilates, physical therapy is first on my list because I think that the consensus is I somehow have a herniated disc. Don't know how that happened. And anyway, that's a long story for another day. But let me tell you, it was some pain I was going through. Let's see. Taking Conjuring Abundance was a self-care for getting my finances in control, and it has worked. That's awesome. I can't see who's sharing it, just as Facebook user. But Conjuring Abundance, it's one of the classes that comes in our Holistic Witchery program as a bonus in there. So that is as a person who used to be tens of thousands of dollars in credit card debt and now runs a business that is in the top. The Sisters Enchanted, our business, only 4% of female business owners will ever reach what we've reached in terms of revenue at the Sisters Enchanted, from tens of thousands of dollars in debt to that with no, my husband has never made more than $30,000 a year. We don't have a trust fund. We didn't get no one is supporting this. So I can tell you the things in Conjuring Abundance, they work. They work. Let's see here. I panic clean when people come over. That's my husband. He panic cleans whenever someone comes over. all the time. Let's see what else is rolling in here. Let's see. I'm just scrolling through here. Yes, I've seen some definitely the perimenopause, the back pain. I get y'all. I got a nice little like beard hair that's growing in down here right now. I keep forgetting to pluck it out. Perimenopause for the win. Just checking in some of these. I need physical and mental self-care. Yes, stop arguing with myself. The panic cleaning. So much here. Yes. All right. So all of these things that you're sharing, and I know some of them can feel like, and also I don't want to take away that there are very real hurdles. Some people I see, I can't see the name again. I don't always see everybody's names, but one person is sharing, I think, dependent on their spouse. And so getting the new clothes and things feels like a struggle. We do find ourselves, this is very real, in positions in life where we feel like there's no way to solve the thing, right? Where it's like there's no way to move forward with it. Like it's impossible to get the support. And I don't want to sugarcoat it and say like, well, if you just manifest your way out of it, it's law of attraction, just get yourself out. No, there are cases in which you are very much up against the wall. And my hope for those of you who might be in one of those positions watching this would be that the tools in this book or this download here can somehow empower you to make one decision, whether that's making a relationship with a friend who can somehow help you to put a step forward, or change a thought pattern about yourself that might help you to communicate in a different way to get the support that you need. So those of you who are watching this and are like, Sarah, it's all well and good, you don't know my life. I don't know your life because I'm not in your life. And as a person who's been in positions, I don't often share, I don't think I've ever shared this story, but when Anna and I were kids, our mom, our stepdad, her second husband, we were in not a great situation. And when we were leaving it, we had to like sneak that that was happening. It wasn't something that could be talked about. And we had to, it was not good. It was not good. So I can feel that pain of like, how do we get through this? And I can tell you that's not always easy. And that sometimes switching your mind now, or getting a friend or a support now, a year from now, you might find yourself in the position to make that change that you think feels impossible right now. And so sending you all of that love if you're one of those people right now. I love seeing these comments here about the mustaches and the beard. Yes. And then the clean houses. Yes. My house is not clean, but I have somebody to help me clean my house, thank goodness, or else it would just not be clean. So last week, again, we went through a lot of shadow work type stuff. It was, what are your barriers? What are your boundaries? Your time. What is your relationship with time? And how can you start to look at your life as you really taking ownership of it? Because no matter what you do for manifesting, whether it's the moon, it's crystals, it's tarot, it's, lighting the fire at the full moon, if you aren't having ownership over your own self and your own energy, nothing is going to come out this way that you want it to, more than likely. So that was last week. This week is really like, okay, now I know the lay of the land. What are different ways that I can build self-care around my whole life? How can your finances, even if they don't feel like self-care, how can that be self-care? I'll never forget the day that I made the phone call with a debt manager person to help me figure out my credit card debt. I cried, I sobbed, I could like barely talk to the person on the phone. And the relief I felt after that, though, was just immense, because it was like not another day of waking up and wondering how I was going to pay this bill, how I was going to get through this. So sometimes like that hard thing is your own self-care that you actually need to do. That's your practical self-care, right? So you have the practical self-care. Again, we have the spiritual self-care. That's the journaling. It's the prompts. This is spiritual self-care, what you're doing right now. It can be meditating. It can be going for walks. It can be making friends here in this group and having somebody to talk to that speaks your language. The relational self-care. Again, we have the spiritual self-care. That's the journaling. It's the prompts. This is spiritual self-care, what you're doing right now. It can be meditating. It can be going for walks. It can be making friends here in this group and having somebody to talk to that speaks your language. It can be making those relationships work for you, which isn't always easy either. I know that I'm married to a person who we have opposite rising signs in astrology. That means we see the world in opposite viewpoints, and that's a challenge. But the more I work at that relational self-care, the more supportive life actually is for me. And the more I come back to myself and say, what can I change about this based on me? Not him, not other people, right? And that's what you're going to do this week. All right, let's see here. I see someone sharing creative people don't have messes. They have ideas lying around everywhere. Oh my gosh, that's so true. I have sticky notes and index cards and I don't know. This one's got scribbles on top of the scribbles. For sure. Yes, this is all shadow work. I think it's a misconception that people have that shadow work is like this very hard thing that you have to sit down and like do in a very structured manner. But anytime that you are looking at a truth about yourself that might explain a situation or a reaction, understanding where that came from, and then how the decisions you're making based on that are robbing you of your own joy, that's shadow work. That is shadow work. So in my life, this often looks like the idea that nobody's doing everything and I have to do everything, that I'm just doing everything and no one's doing anything, right? And then I get really resentful and I'm really mad at everybody and I feel like everybody just sucks. And then that's not joyful. It's not fun to spend time with people. It's not fun to talk to people because I can't stop making like little side quips at them and like I don't want to spend time with them. But when I look at that and I realize, well, I'm the only one setting that expectation. They're not telling me I have to do all this. I'm telling me this. And where did I get that idea? I had to grow up very quickly as a young child and make decisions that were wise beyond my years and advocate for myself in ways that most kids didn't have to. So that's where I got that from. I'm now living it as an adult and it's not serving me at all. And it's robbing me of joy in my relationships, in my ability to relax. And that is shadow work. So everything we're seeing in here, everything you're doing really is shadow work. It's understanding this shadow part of yourself and then acknowledging that this is part of me, like this is part of my personality. And I need to come back to it again and again and again and see it for what it is, so that I have space for happiness and joy and self-care and support. Let's see here. Yes. I see so many great, yes, things get better. Cheryl's sharing a big share here. Afraid to be alone if I act strong. Yeah, sometimes you gotta speak your truth. Yes. All right, everybody. So I'm gonna leave you with this. Last week, again, you did a lot of reflective work. Go back to last week. If you just started today, if you missed last week, you're not behind. You can just start where you are. The prompts aren't so long that you can't do them all and catch up in one sitting. You don't have to do them all in one day. So last week was lots. I can't talk. Last week was lots of just kind of how are you where you are? What do you love about that? What don't you love about that? And then this week is different kinds of self-care. And this is, again, where you're really looking at your whole life of being self-care. You want your whole life to be something that feels like it's there to support you. Doesn't mean it's easy. It means that the things are there to support you. It means that when things are hard, you're not worrying about your money. When things are hard, you're not worrying about your spiritual practice because it's part of what you do every day. You're not worried about your relationships because you've done that work. So they're part of your self-care. Even if you're in an argument with a significant other or a relative, at the end of the day, you've done that relational work that you're going to be able to either apologize for your part in that, accept forgiveness or accept an apology and forgive, or that you're confident enough to know, what, this is just the end of this relationship then. We've done the relational self-care and this isn't caring for either of us. So you have these supports then built in, so where your life really is full of self-care. And this is where all the magic stuff can come in too. You can do the manifesting. You can use tarot to help you through this, crystals, all of the good stuff that we all love once we've done this foundational work. All right. Okay, so if you've not printed out your guide, you can do that on the resource page. It was emailed out this morning. You can also find the replays on that page or on Facebook or YouTube, but we are putting them on one page for you, easy to find. There's also the audio feed over there. So if you are a person who wants to listen to the prompts each day rather than read them, you can do that on the audio feed, which is on the resource page. The last 7 days, so next week, the audio is expanded upon to the printable. So you might want to listen to that then. We have the daily threads in the group for you. Of course, you can always grab the book version too, which has lots of expanded resources and video resources for you. I think it's kind of on hold for ordering on Amazon, but I believe you can get it at Barnes & Noble still and get it pretty quickly. We're super thrilled and also jointly frustrated that so many people have pre-ordered it that the printer is not caught up to the orders. I don't think anyway. So I don't, as of yesterday, you could not order a copy on Amazon. You could get the Kindle copy or the physical copy from Barnes & Noble. All right. So I can't wait to see your shares from this week. We don't have another live stream until Monday. I've been in Florida for the last 6 weeks, and I'm headed home to Connecticut this coming weekend. So our next live stream will be on Monday, and I think we have 2 live streams next week. And yeah, so other ways to join us, we have our Expedition to Soul class coming up soon. You can register for that. That's free. And then Holistic Witchery. We do have a wait list intake happening this week. So if you want to get on the info list for that. Yes, the Amazon ones, I know. So many were ordered. I think it's just, it's stuck in printing. Paige says, fun Florida. Oh my goodness, Paige. This is where this self-care stuff comes in. I've been here for 6 weeks. And I'm here with my aging grandparents. My grandfather has dementia. And so we brought them. They live in Ohio. We live in Connecticut. We went through this whole thing to get them from Ohio to Florida. My husband drove a triangle around the country. We got here. My grandfather ended up in the hospital and was unwell for about the first 3.5 weeks we were here. In and out of the hospital, in and out of doctor's appointments we were taking him. He got well just in time for me to have my back problem, which put me out for a few days. And now, the dreaded virus everybody's avoiding. My elderly grandmother now has that. And my mother's fine. My grandmother, I think she's going to be fine too. She's pulling out. It's been over a week now, so that we've been, avoiding all the people as one does. But this 6 weeks here in Florida has turned into a real experience. And I'm so glad for all of the self-care strategies that I have in my pocket and this life that I've created, because we've been able to care for our elderly relatives and, still take care of ourselves and not explode in arguments in the meantime with all of the things that are happening behind the scenes. Anyway, I see somebody ordered on Kindle, but it's not. So I don't know how you refresh a Kindle. Amazon should have pushed a new version of that Kindle book for you. So I don't know how that works, though, to be honest. I don't know if you can unload it and reload it or something like that. But yeah, the book is totally just held up for printing right now. Anyway, it's all good. I appreciate y'all pre-ordering it. And Barnes & Noble is shipping it really, really quickly, and it's still available for order there. Anywho, thank you for listening about my life right now. See, I don't have anything going on here that nobody else, there's no Wizard of Oz behind the curtain here. I too have lots going on and feel how challenging all of this can feel every day. But that's why you do it, right? So that when all of this stuff happens, you're like, oh, I have such a spacious life that there's room for all this stuff to happen. And that's what I want for everybody. All right, y'all. So I will see you next on our live stream next week. We have a new podcast episode coming out tomorrow with 7 tips for everyday magic. And of course, share in the group in the daily threads. And we love to support you in there. So we look forward to seeing all of your shares. Okay, everyone, have a great day ahead. Onward to some self-care, and I'll see y'all around. Bye.